So once upon a time, there was this guy, and he was, like a prince. I don't remember where he was from. Doesn't matter. Somewhere in Greece. And he was walking along, taking a stroll through the woods. And he hears this beautiful singing, and he's like, oh my god, that's beautiful singing. And he, like, followed the voice. And he sees this woman sitting on a rock in a river, or a lake, or something, and some body of water. And she's, like, combing her hair and singing. And he's like, oh my god, you and your voice are both so beautiful. And she was like, holy shit, because she didn't know he was there, and she like dove into the water. And he's like, no, friend zoned again. Land zoned again. No, that didn't happen. He was like, what? And he's like waiting for her to come up, and she didn't come up, and he's like, but she was a nymph, so she was like a water spirit, so she was fine. But he went through a stroll in the woods and stuff the next day, and he heard the singing, and he came back and he was like, hey, it's okay, I think you have a really beautiful voice, and also your face is beautiful and stuff. So they kind of slowly, like, you know, got to know each other, and they're like, we should totally get married. And so the prince went to the king and queen and was like, I found a wife, and they're like, that's great, and he's like, she's a water nymph, and they're like, oh, okay. And the water nymph was like, yeah, I gotta talk to my dad too. So she goes to Zeus. We're gonna use Greek gods and goddess names, if I can remember myself to do Greek and gods and goddess names, because these are originally Greek myths. So yeah, so she goes to Zeus and she's like, I want to marry a mortal. Let me have this. Then there's this big fancy wedding, because, you know, it's like the whole groom's side is all mortals, and the bride's side is all deities. So, crazy party time. Everyone was invited on, you know, the Olympian side, except for Eris. Eris is the goddess of strife, and her Roman name is Discordia, like discord, so it makes sense. I think she's Ares' sister, so she and Ares are like, yeah, war, and she goes and like she loves killing people in war and stuff like that. So no one really wanted her at the party, but she was pissed, cause that's super rude to invite everyone except her. That's just cold. So she's like, I gotta figure out a way to get back at these bitches. So she's like, I got it, and she took a golden apple, and she wrote on it, for the most beautiful. Or the fairest of them all. Yeah. And she poofed into the party, because goddesses can do that. And she's kind of like went over. And there's three goddesses talking to each other. It was Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite. So they are rivals, pretty much. So they're all chatting. And Ares comes over and just kind of like tosses the golden apple. And then poofs back out. And they pick up the apple, and they said it's supposed to go to the most beautiful. So Aphrodite's like, oh, this is obviously me. Aphrodite's the goddess of beauty and love, so right, she's like, that's me. And Hera's like, excuse me, I believe that's my apple. And Athena was like, a bitch, please. So they're all fighting over this apple, and they're like, Zeus, who is the most beautiful? But Zeus, anyways, like, I can't make this decision because I love all of you so much. So I'm gonna pick this mortal guy, and he'll make the decision. This is where two stories combine. So I told one story, I gotta go back and tell another story. So in Troy, there was this king named Priam, and his wife, whose name I don't remember. It doesn't really matter, I'll call her wife or queen or something. And she doesn't do a lot for the plot, but she does have, like, literally, like, 40 kids, I think. So, she's pretty cool. Like, damn, like, 40 kids in ancient times, goddamn. Whew. But one of her kids is Cassandra. And Cassandra is an oracle. She can see the future. And later in life, Cassandra is cursed so that she'll always be right, but no one will ever believe her. But this is before that happened. She's a little girl. And the queen is in the middle of, like, having a baby, and she comes running in and said, you gotta kill him. And Priam's like, what are you talking about? And then they're like, the baby's a boy! And Priam's like, how did you know the baby was gonna be a boy? You said him. And Cassandra's like, you gotta kill him, because if he lives, Troy will burn. She's very She's a troubled child. So Priam has to make a decision now because, like, this is his son, but he's in charge of, like, you know, all of Troy, which is a big city, and he has to protect the people. And so he makes his tough decision, and he's like, take the baby out and leave it in the woods. That's what they did in Greek times. When you didn't want a baby, you just leave it in the woods and it would die. Actually, you know what? He told the servant to throw it off a cliff, but the servant was kind of like scared or like felt guilty, so he just kind of like left it in the woods. And then this shepherd hears a baby crying, most likely, and was like, hey, look, it's a baby. So he's like, that's totally not fair that someone just left you out here. I'm going to raise you. And the baby's name was Paris, according to the king and queen, but the shepherd didn't know this because he's like found a baby. It didn't have a name tag. They didn't expect it to live. So he's like, I'm going to call you Alexandros. I'm 99% sure his name is Alexandros. So he grows up believing he's a shepherd because he's raised by shepherds. So he's like raised to be a shepherd. Yes, shepherd. Okay. So he's tending the sheep and the goats and stuff. And all of a sudden this goat goes running off. And he's like, goat, come back. And the goat like runs into a cave. Oh, did I say we flash forward? Obviously we flash forward because he's taking care of goats and shit now. This is the same day as the wedding. So the goat goes running off, and the goat leads him into a cave because the goat's actually Hermes. So he gets in this cave, and he's like, goat, but the goat's gone because the goat's not a goat, it's a god. And then all of a sudden, 3 goddesses appear: Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite. And they're like, whoever you think is the most beautiful, you give this golden apple to. And Hera's like, if you pick me, I can make you rich. I think it was rich. It might have been powerful. I think it was rich. It doesn't matter, one of those things. And then Athena's like, if you pick me, I can give you glory in battle, or just glory in general, I guess. So you can always win and whatnot. And Aphrodite's like, if you pick me, I can give you the most beautiful woman in the world. She like holds the apple, and it turns into like a Skype call, sort of this woman, Helen. Helen is from Sparta. Paris pops a massive boner over Helen. He's like, oh, I totally pick her. He's like, I pick Aphrodite. So Aphrodite's like, hell yeah. So Aphrodite likes Paris. And no one else does now, because Hera and Athena don't like him because he didn't pick them, and they kind of turn everyone else against him. And he ends up going back to Troy. Like, I'm pretty sure that the royal family was like, we need to take some of your cows. I managed to tie it in. I think it was cows. They took cows and stuff, and they're like, these are our cows now. And Paris is like, what the fuck? Alexandros is like, what the fuck? So he goes to Troy, and he's like, how fucking dare you take my cows? And like, since he's there, somehow they figure out that he's Paris. Like Cassandra realizes it or something. She's an oracle. So the king and queen, now that he's like grown up, and they're like, you know what, we don't have the heart to kill you again, we're going to accept you into the family. So, and then they're like, your name is Paris. So he's Prince Paris now, and he's about to fuck shit up. I could end the video right there. And, Paris is like, damn, that booty fine. So I can't use that. Paris gets a massive boner, and that's better.